This week on the podcast, we're joined by Nate Bender of Let's Play. We talk about the Game Awards, some hardware news, and we've even got deals of the month. All of that and more in this week's episode of the podcast. Roll the intro. Did you have a hairball there, Mendacii?
A little bit, yeah. Got a little bit of the beard. You know, like when your beard just kind of, and you just kind of like munch on it for a while, like a cow, before you realize it's in your mouth.
Yeah, I have that problem with my mustache a lot. Hello and welcome to Next on Nothing, a podcast for gamers on a budget. I am your host, Danny K. With me, as always, the wonderful, the beautiful, the Mr. Green Elite. Green, how are you doing today?
Nothing ails me this week. I actually am standing in pure triumph. You want to know why, Danny K?
Why is that?
You want to know why? People told me it couldn't be done, but I did it. I went to EA. I sent them a nice email saying, hey, my Apex account got hacked, and hey, I didn't use it to cheat. You know what they did? They unbanned my account. Okay.
Wow.
However, they did not send me an email to say that my account was unbanned. They unbanned it on the 26th of November. I didn't find out about it until December 6th.
Dang.
So, however, I am standing in all 6 foot tall me of glory as I sit there and say, I did it. Because there's so many people who are like, they're not going to reverse it. You're done. Hang up your cowl. It's not going to happen. But it did. And I feel very proud. I'm very proud.
Wow.
Wow, buddy. Wow.
Joining us every week, the spooky and the ookly, the Mendacii. I know, for whatever reason, I was so good. For 2 weeks, I did not goober up. And I goobered up this week. I'm sorry, Mendacii. How are you doing? Are you doing spooky or ookly?
Definitely ookly this week, man. Let's see here. For one thing, still thinking about just resigning completely from this podcast and life in general. I'll tell you what, Green, I lost $50 in a Deadpool because of that. I totally thought that EA was going to be like, eat shit, and then just, not say anything. But there is a little bit of cherry on top of that shit in that they just didn't even tell you. They're just like, yeah, sure, whatever.
That's the funny thing is I checked the website and they're like, case closed, and I'm like, oh. So I log in and it'll let me play, and I'm like, oh, okay.
That is the equivalent of Tuxedo Mask showing up and just like flailing his cape and being like, my work here is done. You didn't do anything. And he just leaves, Beautiful.
Exactly.
Wow. Joining us this week, we are joined by another man with a velvet voice, Nate Bender of Let's Play. Nate, how are you doing?
Hold on.
I'm great. Thank you for having I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Not just a velvet voice, but a beautiful, glorious beard as well.
That is a
I'm
gorgeous
working
beard.
on it. I'm working on it. It's
anything better than this is an A+, okay? In my book. Anything better than this.
I gotta get some length. The problem is that mine doesn't just grow down, it grows out too. So I get like grizzled prospector beard pretty quickly.
That's good.
And I don't have a really good way of controlling that.
Cool beard problems. Am I right?
Yeah. I'll make sure to mail you some dowsing rods, man. You can lead me to that goal, lead me to some fresh water.
You want to spare some of that spare testosterone you got going on there?
Scrape it off for you, buddy.
So, Nate, for those who have not met you yet, who are you? What do you do? And where can people find you?
So I am a prolific podcaster. I've been a podcaster since 2006, making content for all sorts of video games. Started with Final Fantasy. It's mostly Final Fantasy games. Started with Final Fantasy XI, moved on to Final Fantasy XIV, started sort of a general gaming talk show at one point, started the first nationally syndicated radio show for esports and video games. And now I'm doing a daily podcast Monday through Friday. That must be a lot of work. It actually is, but it's only 5 minutes long, so it's not that much work. And basically what we're trying to do is just keep people up to date on what's going on in terms of video game headlines. So that's what I do, and you can find it, on various podcast platforms, wherever you download or steal your podcasts.
Yeah, and what's the title of that show called?
It's called Let's Play Daily Gaming News. That's the full title.
Yeah, so if I can real quick blow some smoke up your ass,
Oh, please do.
I was looking for a daily gaming show that was about 5 to 10 minutes long that I could add to my daily commute. And I found yours, and I'm like, this is it. This is the one I'm sticking with. I'm like-
Nice.
and I struggled. I'm like, Polygon doesn't have one. I don't find what, like, IGN doesn't have one. I'm like, there
Yeah.
used to be like Inside Gaming from Rooster Teeth, but they canceled that one. So I was looking
Yep.
for something. I'm like, I just need something that I can add to my commute. Like I load up
Yes.
I load up the daily from the New York Times. I add this to the queue, and I add something else to the queue, and my commute is covered. Seriously, guys, it's wonderful to have it in my commute. Highly recommend. Go on ahead, subscribe to it on Spotify. Fantastic. Official endorsement.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's weird. In my career, I've gone from creating 4-hour-long episodes to now 5 minutes, 6 if maybe you're lucky. So it's kind of a bit of whiplash in terms of content length, but that's okay. We've got longer form stuff coming. It's irons in the fire sort of thing at the moment.
Yeah. So, guys, welcome to the show. Thank you for watching and listening. If you miss any part of the show, you guys can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and everywhere podcasts are found. If you want to join us live, you can do that every Tuesday on Twitch, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, or Central Time, sorry. If you guys want to be a part of the show, because we're not just here for your attention, we're here for your opinions and thoughts, you can answer the question of the week. This week, our question is, what are your predictions for the Game Awards? Go on ahead and let us know in the chat right now. If you guys want to let us know who you think is going to take Best Indie Game, Best Game of the Year, stuff like that. We would normally talk about our answers now, but we're actually going to talk about our answers later in the show.
Skyrim takes the Game of the Year award for their re-release. You heard it here first.
Go.
Yeah, so let us know in the chat what you guys think, and let us know in the YouTube comments. Before we get into the meat of the show, the real meat of the show, I do want to let you guys know that we have giveaways all of this month. So if you guys follow us on Twitter and follow us on Facebook, you guys will see some posts go out. Every week this month, we're going to be doing a giveaway where we want you guys to tell us about a friend who deserves a free game this holiday season. So all you'll have to do is tag that friend on Facebook or Twitter. Let us know why they deserve a free game this holiday season. And one commenter will be randomly drawn, and you guys will both get a copy of the same game. This week, we're offering you guys... I know this is probably going to seem kind of trashy of me, but we're offering you guys Mystery of the Druids because it is such a janky, culty mess that you have to experience it together. It's like watching The Room together.
That's fair. It's sort of The Room of video games.
Yeah. So that's the game that you guys have this week. So make sure, if you guys haven't yet, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook. Facebook is like brand new, like literally a week.
Less than a week, actually.
Less than a week.
Yeah. I was told I had to make it. Like I had to get it done, or else someone else would and be very disgruntled with me. So
I was also coming with the hickory switch.
I was gonna say, yeah, I was gonna get my rings on and start backhanding. So yeah, guys, let us know let us know about some friends, some relatives of yours, someone close to you who you think deserves a free game this holiday season. Other than that, guys, let's get into it. Nate, you've
Yes.
not had the most time with this, but I am still very curious to hear about it. Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker. Take it away.
Yes. So, Final Fantasy XIV put out its latest expansion, Endwalker. Early access was over the weekend. In fact, its release day, its official release day, is today. So I've gotten exactly 3 play sessions with it, and mostly the biggest problem is getting into the game. You're fighting thousands of other players. You're fighting the queue. In fact, I'm fighting the queue right now. We're going to play a little game. What happens first, the end of this show, or I actually get to log on to a Final Fantasy XIV server? Currently, I am 3,463rd in line. I think the queue is going to win, but it's you know what? This is the culmination of over 10 years worth of storytelling from Square Enix. And if there's anything to be said about Final Fantasy XIV at all, is that it is a phenomenal story. There is no other MMO that can present a narrative quite like Final Fantasy XIV can. I've been a big Final Fantasy XIV fan for a lot of my career, and the reason I say that is I've hosted a Final Fantasy XIV podcast. Probably for close to 10 years. I did a show called Limit Break Radio. I helped launch Aetheryte Radio. Final Fantasy XIV has played a big role, not just in my personal life, but also in my career as well. And I have to say, in the moments that I've been able to log into the servers have been remarkably stable, right? Like, people aren't getting thrown off the servers left and right because the queues are slammed. Once you get in, it's a fairly stable experience. And, I'm just really looking forward to dig in to this story a little bit more. I streamed the opening 7 hours of the expansion on what was that? I think that was Friday of last week, and only just got up to the very first dungeon. So it seems like a robust amount of content for Final Fantasy XIV, and you gotta love to see it. It's a game that's over a decade old, that at one point was so close to the brink of being horrible and nobody wanting to play it, that I think that players are really lucky to be able to see it in the state that it is.
Yeah. So I can't think of that many people who have we've had on to discuss Final Fantasy XIV in general. Actually, I can't think of anyone who we've had on. So I'm very curious. You're saying that this is a culmination of a lot of storytelling that Square Enix has done uh over the last several years. What for you, other than being like a Final Fantasy fan, has been the draw for getting into Final Fantasy? And do you think Endwalker um is going to be like the what's the word I'm looking for? Do you think Final Fantasy XIV is going to be satisfying? The Endwalker is going to be satisfying for the majority of Final Fantasy XIV fans?
So from what I've seen, I'm trying to keep myself away from spoiler territory, but from what I have intimated from folks who have been far luckier in the queues than I have, it really does seem like it's a culmination of a lot of storytelling. And listen, I spent years on my own show, Limit Break Radio, saying what I thought Final Fantasy XIV should be as a game, right? Like, what I wanted out of it as a fan of MMOs, right? I was coming to Final Fantasy XIV from Final Fantasy XI, a game that I loved, and really wondered a lot why they didn't take more lessons from Final Fantasy XI that worked and apply them in Final Fantasy XIV. And so for me, my relationship with the game was strained for a really, really long time. And I had to quit playing for like a year and a half and let the majority of the previous expansion, Shadowbringers, sort of play out before I was like ready to come back and like open to sort of coming back. And honestly, the thing that is Final Fantasy XIV's defining feature, it's market advantage, and the inherent reason that I think most people should play it is to play it for the story, which is I think a lot of the same reason that people play Final Fantasy games in general, right? Like, even going back to Final Fantasy VII, the original, it had materia and you cast spells and like, yeah, it was a pretty cool battle system, but it wasn't that amazing. People played it for the story. And I think, the development team really recognized that and leaned into it hard, especially in this expansion. So, there's gonna be a lot of very sort of story rich sequences for players that have been playing for a long time. But there's also a pretty good challenge factor for people who want to do end game rating and progression and stuff like that. It was never a part of the game that really hooked me or really got me to come back for it, but for some players it's really important, and that's what they value, to the point where they just skip the story doesn't matter to them. But for me, it was the story.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Mendacii, in the pre-show, we were having a discussion. I think you've had some experience with Final Fantasy XIV. Any thoughts, opinions you want to share on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just exactly what Nate said. I really do think that Endwalker is going to be phenomenal as far as the story goes. I know that there are some people that have already reached, like where they're at, and the way that Final Fantasy actually kind of, I guess, how do you want to say it? The way they make their blueprints for their expansions is it's typically done in three major patches. So, like I guess it'd be patch 3, we would actually get like our end boss, quote unquote, for Endwalker. What comes after Endwalker is supposed to be a completely new story. We don't
Yeah.
even know what's coming, and that will be patches 4, 5, 4, 5, 6 that will kind of set the way for those. So if you're jumping in right now, this is the copy paste that Nate might be somewhat familiar with. But did you know you can play Final Fantasy XIV for free? And it's all the way up to level 60. It's not a time-based thing.
All the way up to Heaven's Word. I mean, it's
Yeah.
really amazing.
The only thing you can't do is play classes like the samurai that came in afterward.
Right.
So like for me, I played up to level, I believe it's 50, and then I grabbed everything because I was like, I'm playing samurai. I
Yeah.
have to. Because back in 11, and Nate, you likely remember this, something that 11 did that did not necessarily strike everyone well, and everyone just kind of dealt with it, but they used real-time um, counters for some quests.
Oh
Like
God,
it's going
yeah.
to take you, it's going to take the Forge Master 30 days to make your katana. Come back to the top of the mountain for your katana in 30
Yeah.
days. And
Yeah.
you can open up your fucking quest log, and there's your timer ticking down. And you're just like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I do
It was
remember that.
bad. So like, but there was so many great things that 11 did. For instance, like their economy was, I think, a lot better
Yeah.
than 14's, but
I agree.
14 has done a lot of good steps in creating a really nice online economy. And it's kind of strange. It's pretty hard to gouge because doing the crafting in this game is also super fucking fun.
Yeah.
And the more you do that and you play multiple classes on one character, your one character can be maxed out in every single class or job, should be job, and then your professions. You can max all of those out on one character. You
Yeah.
don't have to split them up. And you can visit other realms for a day. You just can't like buy anything in their marketplace and fuck with their economy.
Yeah.
You can hang out with your friends all day, and you can't buy a house. The real estate market in Final Fantasy XIV is what's fucked up.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
But that's a whole different story.
Is that an issue of art imitating life?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely, dude. Like there are slumlords in Final Fantasy XIV. That's a real thing, dude.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
and
Yeah.
people will like squat in a house,
Yeah.
like or like right outside a lot, because you never know when an abandoned house is going to just essentially self-delete in
Yep.
order to clean up space. And so someone will buy it right away from the server at an astronomically lower price, and then they will sell it for a lot of fucking gil. It's
Yeah.
crazy. But like there's people that literally play this game to essentially be a homemaker for a guild. Like it's wild the amount of different people that play this game. It's exceptional. It's amazing. The one thing that I would say that this game has that needs a lot of work but totally isn't necessary to anything is its PvP system, which I'm not sure if
Agreed.
that's had any changes in Endwalker, as well as triple triad because people just buy wins off each other.
Yeah.
It's goofy. But all of that aside, Shadowbringers has been held up as the best fucking Final Fantasy story that has ever been made. And it has
I'm not sure that I would go that far, but I think I mean, I would certainly say since 10.
Okay, see that's where I'm at. So we
Yeah.
have the same mind because 10 is definitely my favorite.
10 I don't know that 10's my favorite, but like 10 is a phenomenal game
Oh,
with a great story. I mean, my personal favorite is like 6, but
Mhm.
like, you know what I mean? Like I just since 10
Mhm.
there haven't been very many Final Fantasy games that have sort of like risen to that level of storytelling that 10 had.
Agreed.
So
Yeah.
so I'm with you 100% there that like yeah, Shadowbringers there and I mean like, you know, being an MMO and telling such a long story and it is a
Mhm.
like if you log in, if you can log in and you start
Mhm.
playing and you play, you know, 60 hours, you'll probably get, you know, most of the way through the good majority of the story.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of investment to sort of get to the payoffs that you get in Shadowbringers.
Yep.
And to me, like, yeah, Shadowbringers was awesome, but the whole journey, except for maybe Stormblood, but the whole journey sort of supports everything that made Shadowbringers great.
Mhm.
And that's what Endwalker is really heavily relying on. Like, even just in the opening 7 hours that I've played, you know, I go all the way back to 2010, right? I
Mhm.
go all the way back to 1.0. I alpha tested 1.0. So
Ooh.
I was there at launch. I was there till the servers went down. I was logged on all the way till the very last moments of 1.0.
And Nate, can you, for the people that don't understand like exactly the entire journey that 14 has made, can you talk about the difference between 14 Realm Reborn and
Yeah.
then how we got here?
So Final Fantasy XIV originally launched in, I want to say it was 2010. And when it did, it was bad. And bad
Mhm.
is like, I think maybe like that's just scratching the surface. Like there were so many fundamental flaws in this game that flower pots were rendered with as many pixels as a character model, right?
Yep.
So it was not very fun to play. It was mechanically awkward. Everything you did, from changing a piece of gear to moving something in your inventory, had to be checked against the server, right? So there's like server calls and responses that are going out every second. The whole architecture of the thing doesn't fundamentally work. And so Square Enix is like, holy shit, we fucked this up bad, and it's got the Final Fantasy name on it, so we can't just sweep this under the rug. They actually come out and apologize and are
Mhm.
like, okay, we know that this was bad. We're gonna fix it. Okay. So they fire a lot of the upper management of the team, and they end up bringing in this guy Yoshi P.
Yoshi
And
P, man. What a
and
fucking hero.
right, totally. And he comes in and starts by going, he identifies basically all of the problems that I've identified and goes, listen, management, this is unsalvageable. We have to do a total teardown and a total rebuild. And they're like, okay, we're going to let you do that. But in the intervening 8 months, you still have to support 1.0. So while they're building this new version of the game, and I'm sure, converting assets and doing all sorts of stuff, they're still creating content for Final Fantasy 14 1.0. And it's just bleeding players left and right. And
Yeah.
it's getting trashed by the internet. Nobody likes it. None of the long-term Final Fantasy XI players like it. None of the WoW players like it. No one likes this game. And so they proceed to tell one of the most fascinating stories I've ever seen unfold in an MMO, where they're like, all right, fuck it. We're just going to destroy the world. Fuck you. When does that ever happen in an MMO? Like
Right.
you have certain subtle changes that an MMO will make over time to sort of like show you that time has progressed. And they're like, nah, fuck it. Meteor. And
Yep.
they're like, okay, we're going to blow the whole thing up. So
A literal apocalypse that was
Yes.
made canon.
yes. And the subtle storytelling Yoshi P is now sort of famous for starts with this like little growing red dot in the sky, and over the next series of updates, that red dot gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you're like, oh shit, that's gonna destroy the entire world.
Yeah, it's
And
Majora's Mask, 100%.
100%.
In
Great
real
analogy.
time.
A great analogy for that. Yeah, that's exactly it. And so the player base is like, okay, where is this going? Where is this going? And meanwhile, they're still telling a story inside of the game with the updates and stuff. It's not languishing, right? Like they're trying to repair 1.0 for what it's worth.
Mhm.
And so it builds and builds and builds, and they're like, finally, we're going to take the servers down. They start making promises around this new rebuilt Final Fantasy XIV, what they end up calling a Realm Reborn. We start seeing screenshots and stuff like that, and everyone starts going, okay, this is going to be really cool. And on the very, very last night, the devs start spawning monsters in cities, in random zones. Like it's just like all fucking hell is breaking loose across this MMO. And as a player, you're like, where do I go? What do I do? And suddenly, servers go down, and they put out the end. I think it's at the end of an era. A trailer out on
Yes.
YouTube the minute that
It's like
the
7
servers go
minutes
down.
long or some shit, dude, and it's gorgeous, like,
It's
every time.
still to this day one of the best cutscenes I've ever seen in any video game. Like one of the most like visceral moments I've ever had. So here's this red moon that's descending, and it breaks apart, and it's Bahamut, and he starts destroying everything. And you're like, oh my God, like they're actually doing this. Like all of the problems that we've talked about in the way that the zones are built, like they're really going to destroy this whole thing so that they can rebuild it from the ground up. It was one of the most radical moves I've ever seen a game dev make. And I had to go, mad respect. Like this is crazy. And so the minute that a Realm Reborn stuff started coming out, it was like, I started talking to the guys that I used to do a Final Fantasy XI podcast with, and it's like, this is going to be really good. We should do a podcast around this, and that's what A Realm Reborn ended up being. And so A Realm Reborn was subsequently the foundation that was laid for all of the rest of the expansions and the storytelling. And the crazy thing is, going all the way back to what I was saying about Endwalker, is that within the opening minutes of Endwalker, as a 1.0 player, I'm being hit left and right with so much nostalgia. Like, they're putting in crumbs and storytelling pieces that are like for 1.0 players. And I'm like, this is really cool. Like, this is storytelling on a level that you rarely get to see even in video games. And so I'm really excited to be able to continue my journey in Endwalker. And by the way, I am 2,745th in the queue.
Woo, moving up. Yeah, and
Moving on, yes.
it's been Yoshi P and his crew for the most part all the way since that moment.
Yeah.
And like, he has poured his heart and soul into this. And you
Absolutely.
can feel it in every single thing. It has the most interesting story that I've ever played in an MMO, coming from someone who did vanilla WoW, then Burning Crusade and Lich King and blah 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 until I just got too tired. And obviously, like, it's blowing up right now. There's a WoW exodus from
Yeah.
Asmongold moving over. There's been a 30% regular player hike in Final Fantasy XIV's player base since this summer.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be rough. I don't want to be the guy to say it because I haven't played in a bit, but let's say people in chat that aren't playing Endwalker, obviously they're not playing Endwalker if they're not playing Final Fantasy XIV, but if they're not playing Final Fantasy XIV right now, Nate, would you tell them start now? Or would you tell them, like, hey, maybe wait a couple weeks and then get in?
Yeah, I think that's where what I would say. I would say wait like 3 weeks. Like,
Mhm.
maybe, I don't know. I don't even see server congestion really alleviating over the holidays. Like, people are going to get
It's
that
gonna
time
get
off, and
worse.
yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Unless you're willing to be patient and brave the queue, I would say probably wait a couple of weeks or maybe a month.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Real quick, I'm gonna ask this question from the chat real quick, and then I think we'll have to move on from this topic for the sake
Mhm.
of time. But from a longtime friend of the show, Nine Baz, he asks, "What's the best thing about the state of the game right now?"
The best, I would say the fact that they keep adding new jobs with every expansion. So we got 2 new jobs with Endwalker, a damage dealer Reaper and a healer Sage.
Mm.
And so, if the flavor of a certain job, and I think that this was also a really fantastic point. Like, you can level any job, you can level all jobs if you want to. So I think sort of the transitory nature of the game, again, it's over a 10-year-old game at this point. So these are sort of features that were inherent when the game launched. But I would still say that that's a pretty big selling point, that with just one character you can experience literally all of the content that there is to do.
Mhm.
I also think that there's something to be said for some of the more challenging fights, and having to rise to the challenge of completing them. They're not they're not easy. They take a lot of collaboration and communication. And if you're someone who's really up for a big challenge, I'd say that area of the game is really, really mechanically solid.
Excellent. Well, guys, if you haven't been sold on Final Fantasy XIV yet, I don't know what else could be said.
It's literally free right now.
Yeah.
Like, you could just go and play to level 60, or you can buy the starter edition on PS4 or Steam for $20. There's cross-play. You can
Yeah.
play it very easily with a controller. In fact, even a lot of PC players still play it with a controller.
Yep.
It's gorgeous on PS4 from my personal experience. It's probably even more gorgeous on PC. You should probably just do this.
If you're one of those weird people that has a Vita, you can remote play on the Vita for I don't know how valuable that is, but it's a thing that I've done.
Yeah, sure. Screw it. Hell yeah.
All right. Now, for the sake of time, we probably should move on to our first news story, which is the Stop Grinch Bots Act, which is actually one of the things. I think I first heard about this on Let's Play. So additional blowing smoke up your butt there, for Nate.
Thank you.
So really, no secret that that gamers have been plagued by marketplace sniffing bots over the last year, and driving supply low and skyrocketing prices as scalpers buy up supply before anyone has a chance to do that. But it seems like there's a new law that is being reintroduced into Congress that maybe will help the scalping situation by making that action illegal. It is titled the Stopping Grinch Bots Act. It was introduced by U.S. Rep. Paul Tonko and Senators Richard Blumenthal, Chuck Schumer, and Ben Ray Lujan, I believe is how that's pronounced.
Yep.
And apparently it's the name Grinch Bot comes from the fact that these bots are stealing Christmas. Is the justification I've seen. So this bill, under this bill, it would be illegal. It would be illegal. I'm sorry. Let me restart this phrase. This bill would make it illegal under the Federal Trade Commission Act for automated programs to appear as human and buy from online retailers, circumventing online retailer security systems and access controls. If a bot's creator and users are identified by lawmakers, they would be facing legal action from the FTC. The bill is mostly built from the 2016 Better Online Ticket Sales Act, which was an attempt to stop scalpers of event tickets. If you've heard about the Grinch Bot Act before, though, it has been introduced 3 times since 2018. But maybe this time around we can see something more optimistic happening if you are in support of this bill. Since the news cycle is constantly pointing to supply shortages, that might be a bigger push for this bill to get passed. When I was doing research on this, unfortunately, it doesn't really seem there's not a lot of clarity on how the law would be enforced if it's going to be passed. And a lot of this is probably going to rely on retailers to report suspicious behavior that they see, and then have to help with investigations moving forward, which may or may not, have some mixed reactions. I think retailers are going to be happy enough to report suspicious activity. I don't know if they've really had any sort of legal recourse with any teeth that they could use in the past to deal with these sort of actors. It also does leave some reading I was doing also leaves alert bots in a weird legal gray space. So if you have a Chrome extension that would like alert you to like PS5s in stock at Best Buy, right? Like it just is like sniffing and saying, "Hey, here's an alert. Would you like me to take you to the webpage to go buy?" Those are kind of in a legal gray space under this bill. But yeah, I kind of want to go around the table and hear some opinions. Green, what do you think about this?
I'm always cool with like swindling the scalper, if you will. I've stated before, like I'd rather not there be like legal ramifications for it because overreaching government and all that, but I feel like it's a good move. I would hate to see so many strong and independent scalpers using bots to purchase all these graphics cards at MSRP just to turn around and sell them for triple or quadruple the MSRP price to go without this holiday season. That would just make my heart feel so heavy. Oh no. Unfortunate.
Yeah. Nate, how are you feeling about this?
I think that this is in general a pretty good thing. Like, I think that this is sort of the right kind of stuff for lawmakers to be considering. It's pretty ridiculous if you've come up against some of these scalpers and sellers or bots, how quickly they just eat through supply. And I've got friends who work in warehouses that end up seeing the results of this, and they're like, do we really have to ship 15 PS5s to this some dude who ordered it? And what they're gonna do. This is not a guy who's like starting up a LAN arcade or some shit. Like, this is he clearly he's gonna scalp them. And yeah, there's really nothing that retailers can do, because your boss wants the money. What are you going to do? Cancel the sale because you think that they're being jerks? I think that something having a little bit of teeth is good, just because it'll act as a deterrent if nothing else. I do worry about alert bots, because I think, one of the ways that you can identify bot behavior is by having your database being crawled. If someone is constantly querying your database like an alert bot would do, then that's a pretty easy signal to be like, yeah, you gone. So and I think that those are mostly harmless, right? Like, as long as there's no automated function to go, okay, execute, get me 15 of those PS5s, then I think that most of those are fairly innocuous. So I definitely would support legislation like this, but is it likely to get passed? Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah. And to your point, yeah, retailer, now that I work for a retailer and with a significant online um presence, they we see like everything with those like bots and like we can determine and suss that stuff out.
Yeah.
So that's not outside of the realm of possibility of where they just kick it. Mendacii, what do you think?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because my exact thoughts were literally just put in chat by my friend Sally. What about the small shops I may need to buy in bulk, though? Do they have some way to know? Like, do you have to have an LLC or a business account to order like that? Not to say that I'm not in support, just see issues with the process. And that's exactly it, is when you do these kind of legislations where you look at them, it always starts out with a broad stroke, and you kind of have to put it through a sieve in order to try and actually get the actual legislation out of it. It is really a great idea in theory, but there will be suffering. Absolutely. If the government is involved, there will be suffering.
Well, I think to the point about like smaller retailers buying in bulk, like, what's your markup then, right? Like,
Mhm.
because that I think is part of the equation. Is if you're then turning around and selling it for double the price, then that I think that does make a small retailer part of the problem.
Oh
But if you're
yeah.
if you're buying a PS5 at MSRP to like put in your store, like what are you making on that, right? Like, is it just to get people in the door because that you want people to buy PS5s, or like, because if you're going to be a retailer, then wouldn't you need to kind of deal direct with Sony in order to be able to have a competitive shelf price?
Mhm.
Yeah. Well,
To
so
to that point, I do want to say that Sally is likely talking about a place that would actually have these in use.
Oh, okay.
Like if you wanted to have, say, something for instance, over
Like a
by
LAN arcade.
yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say like where Green and I are, like right in between us, we have a Ma and Pa kind of like quote unquote barcade, and
Sure.
they have like a whole living room set up, and it's like you might want to actually have a few of these. So like obviously they're going to suffer if they can't buy multiples, but I think that that is also an incredibly small margin.
Yeah.
My bigger issue is with like say all four of us. Sorry, I had to count real quick because I'm kind of fucking stupid. Anyway, I had to think about that. If all of us had one Discord channel and that Discord channel was just that bot being like, "Hey man, you can get a PS5 right now," we'd all be like, like getting sweaty about it. And like that bot under that legislation, if I'm understanding correctly, because like I already iterated before, kind of stupid, um, that would not fly under that legislation. And
It
we're just consumers.
it's in a weird gray area,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of this is really going for the automated buying process. The
Okay,
the
okay, cool.
the the bots that go onto a website and buy in bulk and like try to buy out stock on a retailer so that scalpers can go and take that and sell it at a markup.
hmm
Um, but depending on how the legislation is enforced or how retailers decide to deal with it so that they're in compliance or they can report things to the FTC, those bots might start getting disabled. They might start getting targeted or
hmm
whatever else. They might be in a legal gray area. Maybe someone can get prosecuted under this bill if it were to be passed. It's in a weird gray area, but really the law is trying to target these automated buyers who, as stock comes online for a retailer, as soon as it's customer facing on the website,
hmm
these bots go and buy up that as much of that stock as they possibly can.
Yeah, just a
Um,
vacuum cleaner.
that so
Yeah.
what they're that's what they're trying to prevent here. Um, which yeah, I don't know exactly. Again, I see issues of enforcement. I'm like, because that's going to
Yeah.
require that online retailers be vigilant, have processes and policies in place in which they know how they're going to report these things to the FCC, or I'm sorry, to the
hmm
FTC.
hmm
Um, so I don't know.
Question is like, are they even going to care? Because they're getting paid. Like they're getting
Yeah.
paid regardless. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
That's a
know.
good point.
Man.
It will depend on the company for sure. Like I can imagine some companies, some smaller companies, some smaller retailers, more regional based retailers who probably would care. Um, those are the retailers who have a more one-on-one uh relationship with their customers. The smaller retailers, but I don't know, Newegg, Amazon, Best Buy. I can't see them caring all that much. They might.
Nvidia's not going to care. Like they're putting out what they're putting out, and they're like, I don't care who buys it as long as they're paying the MSRP for it.
Yeah.
Or they're paying the map for it too, MSRP
Mhm.
or map. Because they can sell under the MSRP. They can't sell. Little thing for you guys to know here. Retailers can sell under MSRP if they want to. They're not allowed to sell per the vendor. They're not allowed to sell under the map, which is like the minimum advertised price.
Gotcha.
So, a lot of vendors have the two numbers where they recommend the MSRP, but if you don't want to sell at the MSRP, so you want to undercut someone else in your market, you can sell at below the MSRP, but you can sell between the map and the MSRP essentially.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I definitely see your point about enforcement, right? Like the data, it would be easier than ever right now to, to turn it over and to produce. That's not, I don't think that's the issue, but I think you have a really good point on like who's really gonna care? Like who on the side of like receiving the money at the end of the day,
Mhm.
are they ultimately gonna care? And that's gonna rely on someone having, a certain amount of zeal to be like, no, I want to get scalpers out of this market. And yeah,
Right.
I don't really see a whole lot of will to make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we would have seen if Newegg cared about that, we would have seen Newegg take care of it a while ago.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
just
like an actual like wait list, like an assigned wait list. Like, hey, you put your name on this. This is when you're the next in line.
but,
Yeah.
Here's your
But
ticket.
no, here's your raffle ticket that you have to pay for to pay full price for this card.
Exactly. That's what I was just gonna say.
Congratulations. Like, fuck
I mean,
you, Newegg.
that's better than the gladiator tournaments that I've seen for 30 series cards at Micro Center. So
Actually,
you know.
I can't. I retract that. Fuck you, Newegg, because I actually genuinely enjoy Newegg. I'm sorry, Newegg. Please don't be mad at me. I love you. Stop.
Yes.
Don't be like
Meanwhile,
this.
Micro Center, please don't send me to the Thunderdome.
Yeah, please don't send me.
Here's your oversized Q-tip.
No.
Get in, fucko.
That is the. I really wish we had a Micro Center near me. It'd be like a kidney candy store.
I literally went to Micro Center last night because one of my monitors blew.
I am genuinely jealous. The closest Micro Center to me is Minneapolis, I believe.
Oh wow.
Which
that's
is a
pretty
3.5 hour drive, or I could go to Chicago.
Roughly the
Well,
same.
Chicago area. So about 4 hours.
So for the sake of continuing on here, trying to watch our time. Green.
Yeah.
Get in your tech
Green's
corner.
Tech Corner.
Okay. Is the thing over?
Yep.
I can't hear the thing. I can't. So a big slew of news with GPUs this week, including NVIDIA's take on the shortages. Intel's entering the GPU ring. A new powerhouse card from Chinese manufacturer Jingjia Micro, and back and forth about the re-release of the 2060 Founder card. Starting off, NVIDIA has stated at the UBS Global MTM conference that they believe they're going to be able to get a handle on the GPU shortage, and that we should see the shortage recede come mid-2022. Chief Financial Officer Colette Kress of NVIDIA stated, the company as a whole will take the appropriate work to continue to procure more supply. So that's some good news from NVIDIA's part. Hopefully we can see that throughout 2022. Intel has a highly anticipated GPU, which has officially received a name, being dubbed the Alchemist. A release date has not been announced, but it should be early 2022. However, they did say that these cards will potentially have the power equivalent to a 3070 or a 6700 XT from NVIDIA and AMD, respectively. They also did state that the cards will have real-time ray tracing, which is the standard now for graphics cards coming out. Chinese manufacturing company Jingjia Micro has been working on making some new cards with some reportedly good power. The company claims that the Type A named card is using 16 gigs of GDDR6 RAM, and the Type B is linkable to create a dual GPU setup to essentially double that GDDR power. Lastly, NVIDIA recently announced a re-release of the RTX 2060, but increased the GDDR to 12 gigs. It's supposedly supposed to release today. However, they seem to have retracted that by NVIDIA and are currently unavailable on the website. So we have no idea what the hell is going on with those. They've kind of disappeared into the wind. They've also stated that multiple manufacturers have stated that they are not picking that card back up, like EVGA, TFT, and stuff like that. So there might be a 2060 somewhere with double the GDR, but we don't know where. But that's a lot of GPU news lately. So
what would even be the point of them adding that much RAM to a 2060? Like,
I mean,
isn't there a kind of a return on investment that you can get for VRAM?
I mean, I think it is. I've read from a couple articles that this is more like to satiate more miners, and that like this would help like with processing like for mining. But then I think a lot of the biggest hype with the GDDR like increase is like a lot of the new cards have 10 plus. So I feel like it's more of like in my opinion, more of like a marketing move.
Mm-hmm.
And it would also like increase the processing power of the 2060. It actually increased it better than the 2080s of that series. So
Hmm.
it would increase the power quite a bit, but it still wouldn't be like a um 3070 or equivalent of that era, like that area of GPUs. But I think they were mainly trying to satiate people who are looking for graphics cards in that budget range of the 2060. While also like refreshing it to make it worth purchasing. But
Mm.
then again, they also kind of dropped it like a bad habit. So we don't know where it's at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, the website is currently under maintenance, so you
Oh,
can't
good.
even look at it.
Oh boy.
It was there, and then it wasn't there, and then the server was like, "Oh, maintenance time." So we don't know.
These cards are coming to you straight from Sketchville.
So, and like all the manufacturers, like there's other manufacturers they'll pick up that chipset, and then they'll put their own like shrouding and stuff like that, like cooling, and essentially make it their own. Like specifically EVGA is like one of the big ones. Gigabit and Asus will do the same thing. But like, yeah, they even said that like they're not touching that card again. So
Wow.
yeah, we don't know what's going on.
That's yikes.
I think it's safe to say that we'll probably see the market get back to normal before we see the 2060 updated card. We'll probably see the Intel cards before we see these Magic 2060 cards. So,
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see how that Chinese company, Jingjai. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Jingjai. Those
have to
cards
see
are
it, man.
they
I'd
are
have to see it.
very interesting looking. Like they look like regular graphics cards, like a NVIDIA graphics card, but they have like really weird color schemes to them, like they're orange and blue. And they kind of look like it's like cheap plastic, like you'd get out of like a claw machine. So I'm kind of interested to see like reviews on those to see how well they
Good.
actually are. Like, because they're like, I mean, 16 gigs of VRAM is like really good. So I want to see if that's the actual case.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're even doing like the linking, which I think is really interesting because like NVIDIA is kind of straying away from that, like the linking two graphics cards together. Because they used to have someone who like programmed all that, and then they left the company. So
Well,
that's why you don't see it. What was that?
Is that why we don't see SLI mode anymore?
Yeah, that's why we don't see that very often anymore.
Really?
So,
I did
yeah,
not know
'cause
that.
one guy who like he like pioneered it, and then like NVIDIA like screwed him over, and he was like, "Deuces, I'm out." And like that's why they're like, "Oh, we don't really want to do these anymore because we don't know how he did it."
When you have a John Carmack, you keep him.
Like, yeah. So they even like have like their own name for it. It's like EnoLink is what they're calling it, which is pretty interesting. And like I think dual GPU setups are like, while not necessarily necessary anymore, it's still really cool to see. Yeah, that's like the ultimate flex. Like in 2021, it's like I have two graphics cards.
I
You know?
remember Total Biscuit being a huge proponent for SLI mode, and then when games didn't support it, he would freak out. He's like, "Why is there no support for SLI mode?" May he rest in peace. All hail John Bain. Um so that's anything else on Green's Tech Corner this week?
Not that I can think of.
Anything you guys want to add, Nate Mendacii?
Just I want one of those cards. Like I'm running like a 1060 right now and just been waiting for the market to sort of even out to upgrade, and it's just like it's killer. It's every time I go looking for a card, they're constantly out of stock, or it's ridiculous inflated prices. So I hope that we get back to having to to worry about Bitcoin miners instead of a global chip shortage as well.
I did tell someone back in 2019, early 2020, I'm like, hey, if you want to upgrade your PC, you need to do it now. And they're like, oh, I'll get on it. I'll get on it. I'm sure I'll get to it eventually. I'll get to it.
Yeah,
right?
what was his name?
Well, we're
say
gonna keep that. We're gonna keep that open.
Say it,
Okay.
pussy. Say it.
Danny K. And now he's using my graphics card that I lent him. So we did a graphics card swap because like he had like what was it, a 390 or something like that, old Radeon card.
Right, yeah, an old Radeon like 390.
Yeah, so I'm like, here's the 1660 Ti. Treat it nice. You can overclock it. It will do what you need it to do. So
I never overclock this thing, by the way.
Every time we talk about the GPU shortage, I always have to just rub that in this smug little nice mustached face.
Yeah. Oh. All right. Well, let's go on ahead let me go rub the shit out of my nose. Let's take a quick break. Now that you're done rubbing my face in the carpet. Guys, we'll be back in 2 minutes. We've still got some PlayStation rumors, game award predictions, and deals of the month. We'll be right back.
Hello, Danny is being lazy and has decided to have a text-to-speech robot record this message for you instead of doing it himself. He wants you to know that you can help support the show by telling your friends. Telling your friends about the show helps us grow and help more people save money while gaming. It's also free. You can tweet about us, share us on Facebook, or even send a message directly to your friends and family with a link to the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube or leave a comment. That helps tell the algorithm that you like this kind of content and would recommend it. Thanks for watching and listening. The show will resume in just a few moments. P.S. Green Elite has bad taste in Pokemon.
Guys, thank you for letting us take that break. We are going right into it because we've got more news to talk about and really have that discussion about the Game Awards coming up. Mendacii, take it away. PlayStation has some rumors floating around.
Yeah, buddy. And rumors they are, because nothing has actually been publicly revealed. A lot of this comes from Bloomberg. But PlayStation has a sort of, I guess, program, I want to call it that they're calling Spartacus, okay? So it's going to work a lot like Xbox Live Games Pass, or at least that's kind of the idea, with a couple caveats here. So right now you can get like I believe the Ultimate Edition of Xbox Game Pass for about $15, which is kind of a sweet deal because that means you get Xbox Live and Game Pass, both of which are typically $9.99 a month. So you save $5. Currently, the conjecture is that Sony might not actually do that. They'll probably end up merging PS Now and PS Plus, both of which are $9.99 a month, and actually make it $20 a month and completely phase out PS Now. However, they are looking at 3 different tiers. So the tiers are supposed to be more like the first one being what we currently have for PS Plus. So you have your free games that you get every month and nothing changes. Well, the second tier is more like Game Pass, containing that extensive kind of library of PS4 and PS5 titles. And like you can download them at any time until they, rotate out. The third would also add extended demos, game streaming, and backwards compatibility into the mix. So being that I actually got my start on streaming directly from my PS4 in what I would like to call my lovely peasant setup in the middle of the pandemic, it was really nice that I didn't have to spend more money. And if you are trying to stream on a budget or you just want to dip your toes in it and see where it goes, the idea of maybe having to spend $20 to $30 a month just to do that, I would hope that their streaming was a lot more intuitive. Xbox is already looking at something that is going to be a hell of a lot more intuitive than what I started with. So keep your eye out for that. Now, with Spartacus, the kind of difference here and kind of more of the conjectures is Xbox is moving into like the emulation, the backwards compatibility, being able to put in old discs and so on and so forth, as well as actually being able to resurrect games that died on the original Xbox or Xbox 360. We're not entirely certain if the PS4 and PS5 are going to do that with their Spartacus program. That's the hope, is that we get some of these PS3 titles, and we could even see some PS1, PS2, or even PSP games, which would actually make it pretty interesting, considering earlier this year they had sent that email out to anyone with a Sony account saying, hey, by the way, we're totally going to discontinue all this shit, and all of that technology you have is worthless. It would actually maybe soften the blow a little bit. So we could be seeing the reason behind that. But again, it's conjecture and rumor. So don't put all your eggs in this basket. Not at all. Now, the last thing that I really want to touch on is really quite simple and kind of scary. So Xbox Live Game Pass is killer because Microsoft's like what do you want to call them? I guess like flagship games. You know, they're just system titles. I don't know, my brain isn't working. It's just a pile of mush. Anyway, you can get those almost like day one usually,
You're
and
talking
just
exclusives?
yeah,
Is that what
that's
you're
the
looking for?
word. Thanks, Green.
I got
Sorry,
you.
I huffed too much gasoline when I was a child. Anyway, so these exclusives you could typically grab day one on Xbox. Like Back for Blood, even though it's not an exclusive, was available for free day one on the Xbox Game Pass. We do not believe at this point, from Bloomberg sources, that Sony will actually have titles, say like God of War Ragnarok, or the next Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, anything like that. We really don't think that they're going to be doing that. Um, it would be really great if they did, but at this point, I'm just not so sure where we're going to see the competitive model that this program Spartacus is supposed to have with Game Pass. It seems more like, hey, you bought a PS5 or PS4 instead of an Xbox One or an Xbox One X, Series X, whatever the fuck. This is what you get instead. These are your choices. I've tried PS Now in the past, and they do have a lot of titles. I can't really say they're great or good. Sometimes they're fine.
They had Rayman.
They had Rayman. They had Pillars of Exile. You know, like that was cool. I got to play that. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's
Injustice
gonna
1.
Injustice 1, not 2, even though
Not
2
2.
came out in like
2
2015.
years ago.
Yeah.
Like,
And I mean, looking at PlayStation's typical sales, where it's the last 4 Assassin's Creed games that have come out, constantly going on sale. Mortal Kombat 9 or like Mortal Kombat X. It's very tired. I really feel like Sony has to do something fucking huge to get on the level, especially with what Microsoft has been kind of coming out and publicly announcing and showing us even the past month. So, really and truly, this is going to be one of those things where we're going to have to keep our eye on it and just watch it as it comes out.
Gotcha. So I guess I'm gonna posit this question out for you guys because I'm not a Sony
Mhm.
person. I've never owned a PlayStation or anything like that. For you, let's say that the predictions in the rumors of a $20 service um are accurate. For you, what would make that a good value to go on ahead and pull the trigger on that. Nate, I'm gonna start with you.
That's a really, really good question. I mean, I think there's a couple of questions on the overall service. For example, the access to the backwards compatible library of PlayStation 1 and PSP games. Does that mean that I get to access PSP games on my PlayStation 4 or 5? Because if so, that's actually pretty awesome.
Mhm.
If it means that I have to have a PS Vita, I mean, I still have one of those, but why would you do that? You know what I mean? Um, I I could see myself investing in something like this. I'm already a PlayStation Plus member. I enjoy the free games every month, but for not that much more every month, if I got the added value of, getting this library of games that I get access to, I think that's pretty awesome. I don't know that it ends up winning out over something like Xbox Game Pass, because I sub to that, I get all of that stuff on my PC. I don't have to own, any Xbox hardware to be able
Mhm.
to get value out of that.
Oh
And
yeah.
so, if Sony is looking at a way to make this really compete with Xbox Game Pass, I think they have to look at PC support a little bit more genuinely before I'm fully ready to pull the trigger. Because, there've been a lot of games that I kinda, I wanna check out, and they're on Xbox Game Pass, and, okay, that's a much more reasonable exchange than $60 to try something out. Last time I did that, I got New World, and it just didn't click with me. So it's what's the bigger investment? What's the bigger risk? And to me, I don't know. I think that Sony Sony could offer a few more features in a package like that for $20 a month and have it be pretty attractive.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mendacii.
It's right there with what Nate said. This, in order to truly live, Sony will have to shed its dinosaur skeleton that it has been lugging around the past, I guess, 10 years, and actually move into having something like a Xbox Game Pass, or just Microsoft Game Pass on the PC. I'm not saying go build a Steam launcher, but I don't know, maybe go fucking make a Steam launcher. Let me play Bloodborne on my PC,
Yeah.
and don't let these games die, man. I'm still holding on to a PS2, a PS1, and a PS3, and a PS TV, because there are games on there that more or less they're dead. They're
Yeah.
never going to come back. They're never going to port them again. You can keep trying to sell me Final Fantasy 8 and 9 and allow me some emulation control where I can make my movements super fast and shit, and that's cool. But at the end of the day, like unless I can actually continue to play the games that I bought, I don't think I care enough, especially if you're going to try and make me pay you say $25
Yeah.
per month. With what Nate said, you don't need the console. If they really want their games to be played and get the service used, make a PC launcher. Do it that way, but also offer it on your system, just like Xbox does. It's not necessarily intellectual property theft. It's just good business.
Yeah.
It's free real estate.
Green.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know how I would feel about this because I am one of the many few who don't want to get a PS5, essentially because I am mainly PC, and I can't foresee myself getting a PS5 for God of War and Spider-Man, and those are the only two things I want to play on PlayStation. And then also my PlayStation 4 is a fancy wall decoration right now.
Hmm.
So I don't Honestly, I'm going to be 100% blunt and honest with you. I don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not something that really pertains to me. Versus like Games Pass, I can play it on my PC too.
Yeah.
And I very highly doubt Sony's going to do that.
Oh yeah,
I will.
same.
It would blow my mind if Sony did that. Like
They're not
I
they're
could-
not in a market position where they need to do that.
exactly. They do not care. They're like, if you want to play our exclusive titles, going to need to buy a PlayStation.
Yep, they're dinosaurs, dude, and they probably will be until the meteor comes, and I don't foresee a meteor coming anytime soon.
And like anytime that you hear like crossplay was always an issue, and it was mainly because Sony didn't want to share.
Mm-hmm.
Sony didn't want to play ball. Which don't get me wrong, I love Sony products. I loved the PlayStation when I was a PlayStation gamer. I loved it. However, I know when they're fucking wrong, and in these instances, they are usually wrong.
I mean, it's. I think it has more to do with the market position than it does with like the Sony as a company or anything like that. Because like you just know that if Microsoft was holding down the #1 position in the North American games market, that they would do the exact same thing to crossplay. They'd be like, nah, get that shit out of here. We don't want that. We want you to buy our, like, because that's Microsoft has done that. Microsoft is infamous for that. So it's like, I have no doubt. I have no doubt the fact that, like, Microsoft is like a trailing third in the games market. That's why they're like, yeah, we need to have backwards compatibility and, fuck it. We should be open to emulation and yeah, let's do cross play. Like they're sort of in the spot where they're like, they need to play ball.
Pull out the stops.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny too, because like Xbox was the one system that wasn't in for crossplay on Final Fantasy XIV.
Yep.
They wanted their own servers, and because that's ridiculous, because it's an MMO and the MMO has its servers, they're like, no, and so that's why you can't play Final Fantasy XIV on your Xbox.
Yep.
But yeah, it's definitely one of those things. I 100% agree.
Gotcha. Anything else that we want to discuss on this topic?
Nah.
No?
She did.
She
did.
She did.
Oh, she gone.
She gone. Well, let's talk about the Game Awards and some of our predictions, guys. Again, don't forget the question of the week, which is, what are your guys' Game Awards 2021 predictions? The four categories we're going to discuss today are Game of the Year, Games for Impact, Best Ongoing Game, and Best Indie Game. We could talk about every single category ever, but this would take us probably all night. So, let's start with Game of the Year. So the nominations for Game of the Year is Deathloop from Arcane and Bethesda, It Takes Two from Haze Light Studios and Electronic Arts, Metroid Dread from Mercury Steam and Nintendo, Psychonauts 2 from Double Fine and Xbox Game Studios, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, Insomniac Games and Sony Interactive Entertainment, and Resident Evil from Capcom. Mendacii.
All right. So I'm going to give you my personal, and that's Metroid Dread, 100%. Because Metroid Dread is so fucking good. I wish I could parry everything forever, but yeah, I mean, Metroid Dread is 100% it, but I have a feeling that Ratchet and Clank will go ahead and take Game of the Year, and a close second will be Resident Evil Village.
Interesting. Okay. Green.
I'm pulling for the underdog here, and It Takes Two. However, we all know who's really going to win, and it's Resident Evil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have a very strong feeling that Resident Evil is going to take this.
Yeah. Okay. Nate.
You gotta love them giant women's.
Yes, Lady Dimitrescu, please step on me.
I feel bad because like the only game out of here that I actually played was Deathloop, and even
Mhm.
then I did not play that. I did not spend many hours in Deathloop. So, um, I have heard really good things about Metroid Dread, but like I bailed out of Nintendo for years and years, so it's tough for me. I've got this weird like calling it OCD is a little bit strong, but like I have this weird compulsion where like if I'm going to get into a game series, I want to get into all of it, and I'm probably going to want to experience it from the start. So knowing that, like I don't start things like in the middle to sort of like sample it and see if it's good or not. I'll probably go all the way back to the beginning and see if I can muddle through. I tried that with the Witcher series, and it totally did not work out in my favor at all whatsoever. So, I don't know. I have a tough time. I didn't even know Psychonauts 2 came out.
Right?
Is that bad? Is
No.
that really bad? Like I just had no idea. I didn't hear any sort of press about this game whatsoever.
Right?
So I guess by default I have to choose Deathloop, but yeah, that's my opinion.
If you
Yeah.
were excited about Psychonauts 2, here's your reminder to take some ibuprofen.
Yeah, so from
What,
Mendacii
dude? I was excited about it, all right? Fuck.
It only took what 16 years to come out.
Yeah,
Oh,
man. I
God.
remember Tech TV. I remember Adam Sessler.
Wow.
Fucking, that was my
That's
first
Genuinely
crush.
very funny.
G4 was the shit, and now they're back.
It's
everywhere.
SUYO Network.
So, and Nate, don't feel bad because I have not played any of these games at all. So I have no way to judge. Actually, I don't think almost none of the games that are on are on these lists here I have played. I'm going based solely off of the amount of hype I saw around it, the length of that hype, like how long it stayed in the consciousness, and what I've seen of gameplay from watching my friends in the streaming community. I would be very surprised if Psychonauts or Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart took it. Because neither of those games, Psychonauts 2, I didn't even realize came out this year. I thought that was a last year game. I don't really remember seeing any hype around it at all. Ratchet and Clank, I swear I saw Ratchet and Clank came out last year too, but it's been a really long year, I guess.
Yeah.
My personal thought is Resident Evil Village is going to take it. It had a very long presence of mind in the zeitgeist. A lot of people loved it. I mean, the memes and the the Rule 34, I just
And Halloween, like on TikTok, was
Yeah.
like all like there was at least 10,000 accounts all doing Lady Dimitrescu on Halloween.
yeah.
Yeah.
With a
It-
few
it's everywhere,
Heisenbergs.
man.
With a few.
yeah.
Even past guest Faye Kitsune had done a cosplay Halloween reveal of her Lady Dimitrescu.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be Resident Evil. I think it was so well received. It stayed in the presence of the zeitgeist. It stayed at the top of mind for a lot of people for so long. Based on those, I think that's what I think is going to take it. It was also a technically well done game. Like I don't think I heard anyone talk about it in any sort of negative kind of about any negatives in terms of how it was technically done. Like people didn't have issues with frame rates or bugs. Like it wasn't like on release just the worst fucking thing in the world. Cyberpunk.
Talk to Ren, Danny.
Did Ren have issues?
Ask Ren about the game. When you have time.
The only thing negative I ever heard about Resident Evil Village was that like one of the bosses was lifted from some dude's like indie horror film. Like straight, like the propeller head guy, like was straight out ripped out of this movie that this guy made. And Like he had the movie to prove it. I'm like, oh well, hell. I mean, maybe
Yeah,
maybe he's
Capcom's
got something there, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that I had heard.
Yeah.
Capcom's big trouble for that.
Yeah.
Like just stealing from everybody.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
big time.
Well, so here's the Celio Riverwind in the chat. Outside of De Novo, when your DRM tanks frame rate, you messed up. Unfortunately, De Novo is known for tanking frame rates. It's always a red flag when De Novo is up, but it's such a prolific piece of software at this point. It's really hard to avoid. Next category, games for impact. There are 5 games here. Before Your Eyes from Goodbye World Games and Skybound Games. Boyfriend Dungeon from Kit Fox Games. Chicory, A Colorful Tale from Greg Lobanov and Finji. Excuse me. Life is Strange, True Colors, Deck 9, and Square Enix. And No Longer Home, Humble Grove, and Fellow Traveler. Green, I'm going to start with you.
Respectfully,
There
is no competition here. Like, with all due respect to the other games.
Yeah.
Life is Strange is blowing this out of the water.
Yeah,
100%.
agreed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like this is a competition here. Like, I'm sure these great games, while I have not played them, are great, fantastic. Life is Strange has that big cult following.
Prolific.
Because they are very good games.
I mean, I don't know. Boyfriend Dungeon, definitely has some appeal there. No,
it does.
Yeah,
it does.
but I mean, Hot
Boyfriend.
Daddy's in a dungeon, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I'm sure that's not exactly what the game's about.
Oh, it totally is, actually. It super is. You should Google it.
But Life is Strange is like it's gotten this massive uprising. Like, and even their other like IPs, like Tell Me Why. It's like I see a lot of people play it. I don't think I've ever heard a negative comment about it. My fiance, who doesn't play many games, loved Life is Strange 1 and 2, or 1 and Before the Storm. She hasn't played 2 yet. She hasn't played Life is Strange True Colors yet. But she loved the first, like the prequel and the first one.
I think
so, and she never plays games.
Yeah.
So
I think Revsfan also really loved True Colors.
Is a huge fan of all Life is Strange.
Yeah. It sounded like all 3 of you guys were in agreement, but yes. Nate, I'll get your opinion on this quick.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely going to be Life is Strange. I mean, this is a game series that I have never personally checked out. I have a lot of friends who absolutely adore it, who say that I should check it out, but like, there's like, I feel like I don't have enough like hair dye or like nail polish to be able, like, I don't have the indie cred to be able to pop in Life is Strange. Like, no, I absolutely think that it's a really fascinating series. It's something that eventually I'd like to play, but who knows if I'm ever going to actually get around to it. I say the same thing about Undertale all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mendacii?
Yep. That's all I got.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow you guys on this Life is Strange. Again, just from like how long Life is Strange True Colors kind of stayed in the zeitgeist. I know a lot of people were also praising it for its depiction of a transgender character. I think this will probably take. I think that
wasn't that Tell Me Why, or did Life is Strange True Colors also have?
I think it was True Colors.
Okay, because I know Tell Me Why. Tell Me Why has like twins, and one of the twins is transgender.
You're right. I got my wires crossed. You're right.
However, I mean, like, I think all the games have like a very strong like LGBTQ like you can pursue relationships, like same sex relationships, stuff like that. It's very open.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware, I mean, of what I've seen.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's cool.
Best ongoing game. And this one might get a little spicy. I have a comment I want to make when we go over this. So first, Apex Legends from Respawn and Electronic Arts, Call of Duty Warzone from Raven Software and Activision, Final Fantasy XIV from Square Enix, Fortnite from Epic Games, and Genshin Impact from Mihoho. I'm gonna take this first. Warzone should not be on this list.
Nope.
Whatsoever. I
Yeah.
also want
Hard
to
agree.
real quickly say my heart goes out to our friend AOB, Austin O'Brien, who's the community manager over at Raven Software, and all of his friends and colleagues who were let go out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
Austin, if you see this, I'm behind you, dude. Good fucking luck. I hope everything works out well for you and your colleagues. Warzone has no place on this list. It was a fucking shit show all year, not even mentioning the rest of Activision Blizzard's bullshit right now. Like, Green, you can talk about why Warzone doesn't deserve to be on this list.
Warzone doesn't fucking deserve to be on this list. Destiny 2 deserves to be on this list more than fucking Warzone does.
Yeah.
Like Warzone, like it's only come 2020. It's only been a year, like 2 years since this game's been out. Versus like these other big names, like Fortnite has been out for so long. Apex Legends, like this shouldn't be on this list. Warzone is like I loved the gameplay, like the gunfights and stuff like that. But like as a whole, from the dev standpoint, they are horrible human beings. And that company only cares about the money that you take out of your wallet to put into that game. That's the only thing they care about. That's the only thing they want is for you to put money in. They don't care if you're having a good time. They don't care if you're having a bad time. They just want that money.
Yeah.
So I would rather see Apex win this than fucking Warzone.
I'm there with you. I think Apex should take this. Now,
and from the background, Fortnite comes in and takes the lead.
Gross.
Because all the kids are on their phones every day, just fucking vote.
What Nate?
Yes.
Who do you think takes this category?
Oh, Genshin Impact for sure. No, I'm kidding. Final Fantasy XIV is got to be my vote. I think we're sort of past the era of Fortnite. Like, I know it still does very well, but it's not quite the like cultural phenomenon. It doesn't have that like that guillotine choke on the zeitgeist that it did, even a year or two ago. So I think that it should be included in the category, but I don't think that it should win. It's definitely had its moment in the sun. Final Fantasy XIV, on the other hand, I think, while it hasn't been the most popular game in its, 10, pretty close to 11-year lifespan now, I do think that the phenomenon that's happened around Final Fantasy XIV, specifically in the year 2020, is what sort of sets it apart from a lot of these other games. Like, I have a good friend of mine, Robbie. He plays Apex Legends. I watch him play it and stream it all the time. It seems like a fine game, but I think that like Final Fantasy XIV, for a game that nearly and probably should have been thrown in the trash and forgotten to, the annals of history, to make this kind of comeback, to sort of like, wrap up this almost decade-long story that they've been telling, and to do it with the biggest audience that the game has had in the lifetime of the game. I think that those all really play to, I don't know what the metric is to decide like what
Right.
should win or what doesn't, but to me, for all of those reasons, FF14 deserves it.
All right. Mendacii, how about you?
I'm gonna just go ahead and continue that rant and say the exact same thing, more or less. It's one of those things where you have such a beautiful thing that has lasted so damn long, and it's one concurrent story finally being laid to rest, and everyone can, like, get to the end of this and take just this big sigh and be like, you know what? I did something really amazing with not just myself, but with my friends and with strangers, and I made new friends. There are people that when they started Final Fantasy XIV were completely different people than who they are when they complete it.
Yeah.
That being said, I think that it deserves it, but here's my second layer of my cake. I'm pretty sure that Apex is probably going to take it, or Fortnite, because that is kind of where the kind of gaming climate is right now. And my third bottom messy layer of my cake is, if Call of Duty wins this, the whole thing's rigged. Okay.
I mean, honestly, if they're rigging it and they rig it so that Call of Duty wins, like, that may be the worst PR decision that you can make right
Oh, yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Like,
but
at
would it be
this
hilarious?
particular time.
It would be hilarious, and we could come on the following week and be like, "Hey, everybody, guess what?" It'd be great. It'd be great.
Activision Blizzard spending money at the Game Awards.
More likely than you'd think.
Yeah. All right, best indie game. There are here are the 5 entries. Here are the 5 nominations. There is 12 Minutes by Louis Antonio and Annapurna Interactive. There's Death's Door from Acid Nerve and Devolver Digital. Kenna Bridge of Spirits from Ember Lab. Inscription from Daniel Mullins Games and Devolver Digital. And Loop Hero 4 Quarters and Devolver Digital. Let's see, who went first last time? Was that Green?
I think you technically did.
Did I? Okay. Green, I'll toss it to you.
Switch it over to Nate.
All right, Nate.
Have Nate.
Dude, 12 Minutes was a badass little game. I got to give it, I mean, not for the reason that it was the only game of this batch that I played, but that's part of it. But yeah, no, 12 Minutes was an amazing sort of like, meditation on, crime and, deception. It's a fun. If you have not played it, it's genuinely fun. You should check it out.
Mendacii.
All right, so here's the thing: is Nate's my new best friend. I'm sorry, guys. I'm leaving next to nothing. I'm gonna immediately put in a fake application to whatever the fuck Nate does next, because I 100% agree. It's that game is so amazing. Little side note: you don't have to kill your wife. Keep that in mind.
It's a
But
choice. It's a choice.
It's a choice. You can.
There are consequences for that choice, but
You don't have
it's a
to.
choice.
But anyway, I personally had my entire mind blown on that wall back there last weekend when I checked out Inscription. That game is wild. And if you haven't checked it out, I think it's still like $15, and you need to check it out. You need to go play it, because that's a game within a game within a game, and your brain is not ready for the acrobatics that it's going to fucking do. It's awesome. And if you've ever liked, like, it's just a shot in the dark. If you've ever played a game called Hand of Fate or Hand of Fate 2, it's kind of that, but it's also like kind of D&D, it's kind of Magic the Gathering, and it's kind of Escape Room. I don't want to tell you literally anything, because experiencing the game is a spoiler in and of itself. Just go do the thing, have your brain melt out your ears, and then come yell at me on Twitter about it. That's what I want to see. Another little side note is I'm super happy that Devolver Digital is involved in, I believe, almost every single title on this list. I love them so much. I love you, Devolver. I do think that 12 minutes is probably going to take it, but I would be so fucking stoked if Inscription got it because everyone would go look at it.
All right. Green.
The only two games that I've seen on this list are Loop Hero and Kenna Bridge of Spirits. I kind of want Kenna to pull on this. Like, I think the game is like fun to look at. Like, it's good. Like, it looks gorgeous for an indie game. So, like, I like that. The Loop Hero looks fun, but not really, my jam. I mean, it's like almost like Guitar Hero meets Undertale, which is pretty neat. So yeah, those two, either one of those, I would be happy with winning. I'm sure the other games are great though too as well. From the sounds of it, they're amazing.
Yeah. My prediction, and this might be just like some recency bias because I mean, Inscription literally just came out like what, a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
It's been a minute.
I think Inscription is probably going to take it. I might have a little bit of recency bias, but also, Daniel Mullins was the person who developed Pony Island, which was a big cult hit. That was very meta. Like that game, you guys can check out when Rev reviewed that game a while ago, somewhere in the archives of the show. But it's also like one of those games where like you have to like get into the files and like have to change things. It gets very meta. October 19th, Mendacii?
Yes.
Okay, so I was wrong, but yeah, again, recency bias for me at least a little bit. I think it might be the one that takes it, and I know it has a lot of people singing its praises. A lot of people singing its praises. So that's my personal prediction. Anything else on the Game Awards that we wanted to talk about? Any other predictions you guys want to make?
What about Game of the Year? Or did we already do that
Yep,
one?
we-
Was that the top
that
one?
was the first one we did.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm sorry. Brain still melty brain.
It's okay. You work with paint all day.
It's true. I do like to smell the paint.
I feel like best community.
Oh,
I do wonder what is gonna pull that because
Final
it's
Fantasy
Apex. Well, it's Apex, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and No Man's Sky. I know No Man's Sky just got like a massive overhaul, and a lot of people loved it. It's like No Man's Sky 2.0. Destiny took it last year.
How is Fortnite even in that discussion? Fortnite has one of the most toxic communities in the fucking industry.
Well, this is community support. Okay.
Yeah, so it's on the developer side. Like, how are they? And I mean, like, that whole like Astro World thing that they did with no one bring that up. That makes people sad.
They had Post Malone do a concert.
That's
that was
right. Yes,
Pokemon.
nobody.
No, sorry, that was Pokemon. I lied. Sorry, that was Pokemon because it was he was doing like dancing in like a bubble with fish Pokemon. I remember now. Sorry.
That seems like a weird pairing for a dude with face tattoos and a children's video game.
It was animated though. Like he was Pokemonized into like a Pokemon
Still
Shield.
I mean,
and he did a cover
scene in Fortnite at the MLK memorial in Fortnite. So
That's
there's
right.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so who do we think is going to take that category?
I don't know. I probably Final Fantasy with how much hype it's gotten recently. Destiny does have a big like community that I'm sure will go to bat for him. So Destiny might take it for a second year in a row.
Okay.
But maybe Final Fantasy.
All right. Looking at the clock here, let's go on ahead and get into deals of the month.
Deals of the month.
What's that?
We are running very long.
Yeah, we are. So we're gonna make this kind of a lightning round here for deals of the month, guys. These are the games that you can get right now for free or for very, very, very cheap. Starting out with Twitch. If you have Twitch Prime, go on ahead and snag these games for yourself. Also, if you have, I guess it's actually Amazon Prime with gaming or Amazon Gaming, whatever. Anyways, you also get a free subscription on Twitch every month. So go on ahead and spend that on Nate, Mendacii, or Green Elite. I'm sure they'll really appreciate it. So snag these games right now. There's More Cred, Spellcaster University, YouTuber's Life, Stubbs the Zombie in Rebel Without a Pulse, and then there's Tales of Monkey Island chapters 1 through 5. Any of those tickle your testes?
Stubbs.
Yeah, Stubbs was all right.
Yeah. Next is Epic Games. Right now until December 9th, you can get Dead by Daylight, While True, and starting on December 9th through the 16th, you can get Godfall Challenger Edition and Prison Architect. I'm gonna go over Fanatical and then Green. I'm gonna have you take Humble. On Fanatical, you can get the Best of Platinum collection, 10 items for $24.99. You can get the Pumped Up bundle for $2.99. Build Your Own Slayer bundle 3, 7 items for $9.99. Dollar Chronicle bundle, 12 items for $1 American. And Build Your Own Nitro kit, 10 items for $4.99. Green, what's going on with Humble bundle?
With the transparency in mind, we are a Humble Bundle affiliate. All that transparency needs to be put in place. Game Awards sale is up to 90% off a lot of titles, including Cyberpunk, The Witcher, Death Stranding, and more. And the other one I wanted to mention was the WB Batman collection. 8 games for as low as $10, including Arkham City, Arkham Knight, and the Lego Batman, and Batman 2. So like all the Arkham games, Batman, Lego is cute.
All right. What's going on with Xbox?
Xbox Games Pass has got some good ones. Available December 10th for console and PC is the Anvil game preview. I've seen a few people playing that. Also on December 2nd for console, PC, and cloud is Arcvale. And for console and PC, December 2nd, Final Fantasy 8-2, I think, or 13-2.
13-2. Yeah,
13-2.
Lightning Returns.
I've never played a Final Fantasy game. Please don't hurt me. Also on December 2nd was for console, PC, and cloud was Lawnmower Simulator, Rubber Bandits, Stardew Valley, and Townscaper. Also on December 2nd for console and PC is Warhammer 40k Battle Sector. December 7th, so today, Serious Sam 4 for console and PC. For console, PC, and cloud for today, Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator. That was a mouthful. And then tomorrow, the big boy, December 8th for console, PC, and cloud, Halo Infinite, the campaign will be live.
Whoa.
December 9th for console, PC, and cloud, One Piece Pirate Warriors 4, Aliens Fireteam Elite, December 14th for console and PC, Among Us for console on December 14th, and then The Gunk on December 16th for console, PC, and cloud. The Gunk.
And Dachi, what's coming up on
right.
PlayStation?
Oddly enough, it actually has some pretty cool stuff. There's a shit ton, but I'm going to tell you what I find really cool. Hopefully you find that really cool. Mortal Kombat 11 is 80% off. You could grab that for $10. All of their DLC is 70% off. So if you really dig the story, you can get into that. Everything for Dead by Daylight is 50% off, including a ton of the kind of add-on characters and things like that. Otherwise, what I would highly recommend that you check out is Judgment out of Ryuga Gotoku Studios, the guys behind Yakuza. That is 40% off at $17.99. And then they also did Like a Dragon that came out this year, which is technically Yakuza 7. And that game is 40% off, I believe, putting it at $34.99. And then lastly, what I would say you really should pick up, because I've been playing it a shitload, is Vermintide 2. On console, that's 75% off, and all the DLCs are 50% off or down to 20%. The one that's 20% is like less than $5. It's totally worth it. It's fine. But yeah, I would highly recommend those. But yeah, there's tons of stuff in there. I would say it's a good time to go over to PlayStation and type in a game that you've really wanted to check out, but you haven't had the fundage, or you've been waiting for that sale, and see if it is on sale.
Excellent. Nate, was there any sort of deals or sales that you wanted to point people towards?
Let's see. Offhand, not that I can really think of. Yeah, nothing that's jumping out at me.
That's all right. Well, guys,
Although you know what, I do want to encourage though that I did just finish the Pokemon Shining Diamond and the Diamond and Pearl remakes. They're very good.
Yeah.
They're very good. If you find them on sale, which does not happen often, it's a really good. Like I've had the most fun with these games since Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, and that's pretty high praise. So
it never happens.
No.
Nintendo does not sell their big IPs on sale. Like Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, horrible fucking games, are still $60.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild still $60.
Still
and that's
$60.
a launch title, pretty much.
Although there was somewhere for Black Friday that had Breath of the Wild on sale. So
Woo.
yeah. But you're right though; it is incredibly rare.
Yeah. All right, guys. I think that's gonna wrap it up this week. Then I think we have hit the bottom of our notes and have provided an extra long show this week. So let's go on ahead. Nate, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
For anyone who missed the top of the show, or maybe who forgot all the things that you do, go on ahead and tell the kind folks out there who you are, what you do, and where people can find you.
I would be happy to. So my name's Nate Bender. I host a little show, and by little, I mean actually little, called Let's Play Daily Gaming News. It's a daily gaming news podcast that runs down everything you need to know in the world of gaming. And you can find that on all of the major podcast platforms. I would hope that you would check it out. We've also got Limit Break Radio that is coming back for 2022. So if you do end up picking up Final Fantasy XIV, then make sure you also check out Limit Break Radio. We'll be doing live shows over at twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. We're building a brand new website for limitbreakradio.com. So all of those things are coming back. You can find the episodes on Spotify, iTunes, all of the major podcast catchers. So if that's what you're into, make sure to check it out. And just so you guys know, the show won. I am in Final Fantasy XIV right now. The queue did not beat me. And so, that's the final report. I was able to get into the world of Eorzea.
Whoa.
I know, right?
I should have taken that bet, zombie. Damn it. Could have got my $50 back.
Green Elite, what's coming up on your channel?
Definitely a lot more Hunt and Hunt Showdown. If you guys haven't played it, absolutely fantastic first-person shooter. Probably the best first-person shooter on the market. I feel like it should be in the Game Awards somewhere. Love it. Absolutely adore it. However, Destiny has made a nice little bug in my ear. So I may be returning to Destiny 2 soon. Destiny 2 has the 30th anniversary edition, which does have some free content, but also has a $30, I believe $30 like packet for the dungeon and activity that they have for it. So a lot of like Halo inspired weapons are back in Destiny 2 now, as well as the Galahorn is making its return. So you might see me play some Destiny, probably Thursday. I'm not sure. We'll see. Don't hold your breath. I don't know. I have a very fickle relationship with Destiny right now. So, but you can catch me at twitch.tv/Mr. Greenlee. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and OnlyFans at Mr. Greenlee. I do have an OnlyFans. Do I post on it? I have 2 whole posts. None of them lewd, none of them nude. Get your head out of the gutter, you nasties.
Mendacii, what's coming up on your channel?
Well, because of Nate and all these wonderful people in chat, I've already begun re-downloading Final Fantasy XIV.
Hey, look at that.
So I'm gonna go see all of Eorzea for myself again, and so we'll probably check that out if at all possible sometime this week. Otherwise, there will be more Vermintide 2 with my other podcast host Brent, as well as probably a couple other things here. We might get into some dirty things, but otherwise, to stay up to date, check me on Twitch /Mendacii, or hit me up on Twitter. See how I'm doing. I've been giving a lot of hot takes on a lot of random anime that I've been able to kind of check out and kind of revisit. I found a new kind of like, I guess, like social media quote unquote app called Likewise, which you can find me on by searching Mendacii, and we can share all sorts of books, movies, and anime that you like, that I like, and I can check some stuff out. We went back and checked out Akame ga Kill and Tower of God. And my fiance is for the first time ever going through Death Note, and she has been texting me this entire time, screaming, "What the fuck?" So it's been a really good time. On Twitter, I'm Mendacii_TTV because someone took my made-up name. I guess, I don't know. Either way, all of that.
How does that feel, Mendacii?
It's the
How
worst
does that
feeling.
feel?
It's
People
the
giving me
worst.
shit about my Instagram, and like here, it happens. It's real.
Yeah, it's kind of shitty, honestly. That's mine. I made that up. Don't take that from me. But anyway, yeah, all that and maybe a little bit more. All that this week and over the weekend.
Excellent. I don't have to worry about people stealing my shit because it is that unique. If I find a website where it's not, or a game where my name is not available, it's usually because I forgot the first password.
Weird flex, but okay. Weird flex, but okay.
Anyways, coming up on my channel this weekend, not gonna be a ton of streams, probably Friday, Saturday only. Next weekend I will be out of state for my sister's wedding. And so in my girlfriend will also be out of state to go visit her family before the holidays. So we have a very short week together, and she really wants to spend that quality time. So Sunday no stream at all. Friday, Saturday, probably be playing Hunt Showdown with Green Elite. But guys, you know what happens when I travel is I find a new mobile game to review. So look forward to that, because I'm gonna be getting a mobile game ready to. I'm gonna be lining it up.
You could take a gander at the ones that are nominated for Best Mobile in the Game Awards.
True.
Genshin Impact, boy.
Yeah.
Get your waifus.
Marvel Future Revolution.
Oh boy.
Triple S card pull.
So yeah, you guys, if you guys want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter at DannyK, DANIECAE, same as Instagram, and TikTok is Danny K Media over there. And yeah, that's going to wrap up the show this week, guys. Thanks for watching and listening. Your time with us is always appreciated. But of course, guys, we're not just interested in your time. We want to hear from you as well. So let us know what you think about any of the topics that we talked about this week. You guys can do that in the YouTube comments, or you guys can let us know on our official Twitter and Facebook pages now. Greenlee, hit them with the ats on that.
Next to Nothing PC on Twitter, and then it's just Next to Nothing Podcast on Facebook.
So you guys can
super easy to find,
yeah, follow us there. Don't forget the question of the week this week, which is, what are your predictions for the Game Awards? Let us know. We really do want to hear from you. And also don't forget, we will be doing giveaways on our social media pages, which will be we'll simply be putting out posts. Respond to those posts, letting us know who you think in your life deserves a free game. Random winner will be drawn, and you will get 2 copies of a game to share with that person. If you missed any part of the show or want to take us on the go, you guys can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and everywhere podcasts are found. If you guys want to catch us live, you can find us on Twitch every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. If you guys like what we do, want to help support the show, you guys can drop a like or subscribe on YouTube. Ring that bell. That really helps us out a ton. But if you really want to take it to the next level, if you really want to be like that top tier supporter, the number one way to do that is by telling your friends. It's that easy. It's free and simple. We don't ask you guys for Patreon or anything like that. We don't ask you for donations. Just tell your friends. That's all we care about. Guys, until next week, stay safe, stay healthy, keep fighting the good fights. We'll talk to you guys again next week. Bye.
Love you.
Till sea swallows all.